It's time for Windows Weekly. I'm back. Paul Thurrott's here. Mary Jo Foley's here. And yes, a tribute to Micah Sargent. Stay tuned at the end of the show for a very special Patch Tuesday cocktail. We'll also talk about Microsoft's new Edge. It's finally available for everyone to download from the beta channel. Updates to Windows 10, mobile, and some Xbox news, too. It's all coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Episode 635, recorded Wednesday, August 21st, 2019. Will AI for food? Windows Weekly is brought to you by Wasabi Hot Cloud Storage. Thinking about moving your data storage to the cloud? Wasabi is enterprise-class cloud storage at 1/5 the price of Amazon S3 and up to 6 times faster with no hidden fees for egress or API requests. Calculate your savings and try Wasabi with free unlimited storage for a month at wasabi.com. Use the code WINDOWS. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we cover the latest news from Microsoft. Thanks so much to Micro Sargent. He should have changed his name to Micro Sargent.
Yeah.
For filling in last week. Wouldn't that have been funny? It was so
way,
cute to hear you explain Patch Tuesday to poor little Micah.
I know. I felt like it was like the end of innocence.
Yeah.
No, he did a great job.
Oh, no.
People
he was great.
I'm like, guys, if you put me on iOS today, do you realize, like, I wouldn't even have anything to say
at all. I loved your defense
excellent.
of him on Twitter. I really appreciated that. Because actually, Micah is super smart and super good.
No,
and
he was awesome.
Great. He will not be the regular fill-in
right.
once Aunt Pruitt gets here. And Aunt is a Windows user, but he did a yeoman's service for me.
He was great.
And I thank him.
Yep.
Yeah. He's a great guy. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, he's a Mac iOS type of person. Yeah.
No, but like we said on the show, sometimes it's good to explain things from scratch because we just assume everybody knows all this stuff, but it's not true, right?
I thought I played the role of the dumb neighbor, but apparently.
Well, you're playing a role. You know,
Right.
Not always, Paul.
That's what you do.
Not
it's like
always.
Rick Steves gets a guy on his show and he's like, "So tell me about France."
Yeah. What is France?
You've spent 30 years in France.
What language do they speak there? Yeah. No, you're right. It's important for a host.
It's like they have a different word for everything.
He's a genius.
Yeah.
Genial idiot. That's me.
He was good. He was very good.
No, good. I'm glad. And I appreciate him doing that. And thank you for bearing with me. I was at the big podcast movement, which is
which sounds well.
Is that not the worst name for a convention ever?
That's horrible.
Did you have a good movement? Yeah, it was great. I mean, really?
I wish you were there to see it.
I wish you could have seen my. So.
Okay, guys.
Enough. 3,000 people. It really was fun because I don't know if you know it, but we're podcasters.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah, that was kind of a revelation. In fact, once I found that out, I've changed all the verbiage on the website. In fact, you may not have noticed, but this show began with podcasts you love from people you trust.
Yes. And then, and was this the, what's that guy from MTV that
Adam Curry? Yeah.
Who has started the problem around the podcast name or whatever?
I know. It's Leo Laporte, that jerk. Who's the very first Podcast Expo. I said, what are we doing calling them podcasts? That's terrible. Right. You don't name a medium based on how you're getting it right now. And, of course, I was right.
Of course.
Because
not to mention the fact that where is the pod in
there's no
podcast?
Yeah. Do you listen to your podcast on an iPod anymore? No. Yeah. Is YouTube podcasts? If you ask your Amazon Echo to play a show, are you listening to podcasts? What are you doing? I don't think that's the right word, but it's
curiously stuck though, hasn't it?
It's stuck, and so I'm calling it. I'm not going to use the word netcast, which I thought was much better anymore.
Yeah,
I thought that was a much better name. I don't know who came up with podcast. It was some random reporter who called them that.
Even the term casting is a little weird because that reminds me of the push stuff from like the late 90s.
Yeah.
Like Netcaster.
What was that weird program that would bring... I was trying to remember this the other day. It was big in the mid-90s. Pointcast. Pointcast.
Yes. Pointcast. Yep.
Yeah, it was part of the. It was Microsoft did a partnership with them. It was part of the IE4 channel bar.
And everybody at the site, which was that TV show we did in the mid-'90s with Soledad Bryan, would because in those days you turned off your computer when you went home at night. They would come in and they would turn on their computer, Pointcast would launch, and bring the network to its knees for about 20 minutes while I was downloading all the news on every one of those 100 computers.
Right.
What a terrible idea.
And the name, but the word cast, to me, is more about push than pull, right?
Well, yeah, and that's why a netcast was like casting a net to bring everybody into our wide net of people you love.
That didn't work.
It was a bad idea. They're just shows. Ironically, I gave that speech 15 years ago at Podcast Expo, the first one. This year, guy comes on from a big research company called Edison and says, guys, it's a show. I've been saying that for 15 years. Good luck.
Yeah.
Tom, I'm sorry. It's right. You're right, but we're stuck. So, yeah, now it's podcasts you love from people you trust. I think we still trust you.
It all.
Oh, yeah. We already did.
Oh, wow.
It says podcast.
I thought you were kidding. No, you're not kidding.
No. Well,
I didn't think you were kidding.
There's an SEO.
Like a lot of work.
And it's called, there's this thing called grep. Which is like just find and replace. Find and replace throughout the website. But it's an SEO issue because if people are searching, I want tech podcasts. Oh, sorry, Leo doesn't do tech podcasts. He does tech netcasts.
Yes.
No, nobody ever searches for the word netcast, I promise.
Yeah.
It's a show that's distributed.
That's a big change
on the internet. But yeah, well.
I don't even try to explain this to all people like my stepmother or whoever. It's like it's a radio show.
Yeah.
It's a radio show distributed on the
something
internet.
you will understand.
Yeah. Yep. The truth is, at least now you can say to many people, I'm a podcaster, and they don't go, what's that? Right? It's kind of the hot.
Just feel bad for you.
In fact, there was just I just saw an article that said, thanks to Conan O'Brien, podcasts are really starting to happen.
Oh, jeez. Oh, stop.
Conan O'Brien,
Stop. I hear this internet thing's taking off, Leo.
Take off.
I want to get on that.
Thanks to Kim Kardashian, Instagram's really going to happen. The title bar of your browser still says Netcast. We obviously have to change that. That said grep did not work. I'll get Patrick right on it. Patrick says, yes, still have a bunch of things to fix. The word is everywhere, he says. Yeah. That's poor Patrick. Patrick? S/netcast/podcast/
delete C:\/ /star.
Oh, gosh. Microsoft Edge is now, can we stop calling it Credge? Can we now say, no? Credge is now in the beta channel. It's real now, right? It's no longer, was it alpha?
Just Canary and Dev.
Oh, all right.
Yep.
Nice.
It's now beta. So anybody, even if you think I'm not that tech savvy or whatever, you can try it out.
Nice. Where do you go to get it?
You go to the Edge Insider site.
Okay.
MicrosoftEdgeInsider.com, and you see all the nice channels there and all the different platforms you can put it on, including Windows 7,
nice.
Windows 8, Windows 10, and Mac OS.
Okay, here is you might consider this kind of a stuff disturber question. But in January, when Windows 7 is no longer supported, will Microsoft then yank support for Credge for Windows 7?
No, because Windows 7 will be supported for several more years for those companies that choose to pay for it.
But didn't they do that with XP? Didn't they say, okay, that's it, IE8's the end of the line?
No, they're doing paid support, right?
Yep.
Right.
And actually, if you think about it, because the goal is for those companies to migrate to Windows 10, this will make that easier because this will be included in Windows 10 as well. And so getting going on Edge early might actually help.
And you don't have to be using the paid support if you're one of those crazy people who say, I'm just going to live on the edge and keep using Credge.
Do you think they'll let you do that?
Yep. I do think they'll let you do that.
What do you mean let you? You mean they'll keep it up to date? They'll keep Edge up to date?
Well, I mean,
I think so.
No. I mean, Windows 7, if it's unsupported, which it will be after January for most people, if you choose to continue to use that browser, will they still offer it publicly for download?
That was my question. That was my question.
Yes, I would think you would, because not everyone's going to go out and buy the extended support contracts. Even not all the enterprises are either. And some people are going to be like, I'm almost ready to go to 10, but not yet. And I think they're going to keep it up to date. I do.
I don't know.
I bet they will.
I suspect they will at first. I mean, it's sort of hypocritical of Microsoft to to support an out of support browser, operating system with a new browser.
Yeah, I think it's the right thing to do, though, because I think they're just thinking the people at some point. I think they will yank it. I don't know when that will be. If they'll wait like 3 years or.
So Google did that with Windows XP and Chrome. Firefox did it too, but it took like a couple of years.
Right.
Yep.
And if you're competing, right, and you're competing with Chrome and you're trying to beat them, so if Chrome's going to keep updating for Windows 7, you better.
Well,
Microsoft.
and you can kind of almost for free because you're based on Chromium.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be too hard.
I bet they will.
Well, no, I look, they're going to be doing the work anyway because
that's kind of what bothers me. That's what bothers me and bothered me about XP is they're still doing updates for the paying customers. So for the outside world, it looks like a money grab. Like, let's see how we can squeeze some.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it has been 10 years. I mean, they do have an upgrade path. If somebody for some reason purchased a computer in the past 3 to 5 years and then chose to put Windows 7 on it, I don't know. I mean, I know there are legitimate reasons, but I mean, I feel like most people probably have just been using that computer for a long time. So I guess it's a money grab, but I mean, it has been 10 years.
Well, but some enterprises do that, right? They buy Windows 10 for new users and then they roll back to 7, right?
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone feels bad for businesses. What I mean is there's a, just a normal human being out there. They use they put recipes on their computer, whatever it is. They're running Windows 7 for some reason. I think the majority of those people are probably using an old computer.
Like me.
But they didn't buy one recently and put 7 on it. They bought one 9 years ago and put, it came with 7.
Yeah, like the Optiplex I use as my main desktop, which is still running Windows 7, is old.
Right.
It's, 9 years old.
But it's not like, is it that old, really?
Yeah, I put Credge on it, and it works great.
It's
working great.
So this is now your default browser, Mary Jo? Is the one you like?
It is not my default. I still have Chrome and Credge. Chrome and Credge are side by side on my taskbar, but every time I use it, and I use it more on my Windows 10 PCs than I do on this machine for some reason, it's fine. Works well. I've never had any. I know there are people who've had various issues like with Netflix and other issues. YouTube, I had somebody say something about YouTube notifications not working properly in Credge. But I haven't had any problems myself.
Good.
Yeah.
Great. 1 million downloads so far seems like that seems like a lot.
It does until you kind of think through the math of it, right? I mean, obviously, not many normal people are using the new Edge yet. There are 1.5 billion Windows users. There are 800 and something million Windows 10 users specifically. There's what Apple say 100 million maybe Mac users, whatever it is. In that field, obviously, 1 million doesn't seem like a very big number, but I think the important number to think about is 16 million, which is the number of people that are in the Windows Insider program. And I'm having a hard time understanding how only 1/16 of all the people who signed up to test the next version of Windows 10 are not using the next version of the Edge web browser. Like, I'm really confused by that. And I
didn't even think of it that way. That's actually really interesting.
Right? I mean,
yeah.
That's weird. Now, look, obviously, many people signed up for the Insider program and then stopped using it.
Doing stuff.
But I have downloaded myself Edge dozens of times, and I mean literally dozens of times. I'm not talking about updates. I mean just like literally go to that website you mentioned, download whatever. I usually use Canary, but whatever, and then just use it. I use it full time. I review laptops. I bring machines up all the time. I always put the new Edge on them. I've done this a ton of times. I mean, I'm just confused by this.
Yeah.
I don't expect the normal people out in the world, most of those 1.5 billion, to even really know about this yet.
Yeah.
So there's always, in the Microsoft community, obviously, especially on the client side, there's a little bit of negativity these days, a little bit of worry about the future and all that kind of stuff. But you will find people who will defend this by saying things like, well, it's, now it's in beta. Now businesses will start using it. It's not even out yet, and they haven't really promoted it. And I guess so, but I keep falling back on that insider thing. That's the thing I don't quite get. I mean, even if only 25% of insiders are active, that's still 4 million right there.
Yeah.
How did they all know about it? Microsoft has emailed about it. I've gotten the emails.
So it's reasonable to say, oh, it's disappointing. It's only 1 million.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I wrote about this, and some of the readers came up with some interesting ideas about this, which I think are true. And and they involve such things as, Microsoft took the E logo and brought it forward to Edge. They named the browser something that they could, started with E so they could use it. I think that the way that their previous browser fell apart. Remember this thing had like 90% usage share at one point, and then it dropped off of the face of the earth. Has really damaged the brand, and that them adopting something very similar to their predecessor maybe didn't make a ton of sense. And of course, they're using it now again for the new one. It's a very interesting thing where on Windows definitely, and probably on the Mac as well, most users only use the built-in browser one time to download Chrome or some other browser, typically Chrome, right? It's a very unique situation. The power of the defaults has always been a thing. It's always been very powerful. And in this case, like the IE brand or the Microsoft browser brand is that E logo, that E thing, that used to be the internet. Remember, I deleted the internet from the Windows 95 desktop. I think that brand is, and this came from readers. I didn't invent this idea, but it's possible that this brand is so damaged that maybe that's what we're seeing here. Like, which is tough because this browser is excellent. And I really do feel like most normal people, those very people out there who have no idea that this thing even exists, are the ones who would benefit from it the most. Because it takes out all the awful Google stuff and retains everything that's right about Chrome. It's an excellent browser. And if you don't happen to trust Google, which I think a lot of people don't on some level, you can now synchronize your passwords, your financial information, your favorites and all that kind of stuff as well, through a user account from a company that you trust or should trust, compared to Google instead of Google. There's so much right about it.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about the IE to Edge branding thing, because the reason they did continue using a similar thing was because most normal people don't even know what a browser is, right? And they're like, I click on the E. That's what I click on. I don't even know what that is, right? And obviously not people listening to this show, but people like my mom. Like when I say to her, go to the browser, she's like, what is that? I'm like, the E. Go to the E. And that's why they kept it, right? That's why they kept a name and a logo that were so similar.
But I wonder. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they have user data and telemetry, whatever it is. I'm sure they have an idea.
What if they named it the
reason.
internet?
Yeah, right.
Let's call it the internet.
There was an early browser that literally had the icon was a corner of a spider web. Remember? Maybe Spry or something like that. But there's not, I'm looking, like you look at the Chrome logo or the E or whatever, there's nothing about that icon that suggests this is the internet,
Yeah.
But I don't, Chrome, I mean, by the way, I'm not saying, maybe not such much the name, but maybe they could do a Microsoft version of the Chrome icon, right?
Oh, they're not going to do that. In fact, I'm really surprised they even admit that Chromium is
what's in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I see. Well, to normal people, that won't mean much. Although I honestly think, part of the part of the strategy here is that people will boot this thing. They'll get a Windows 10 computer. They'll boot this thing up because they're going to go download Chrome. But then when it comes up, they're like, oh, I already have Chrome.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly think that's a big part of the strategy, and who knows?
Yeah.
But I don't think, first of all, I mean, I don't think anyone at Microsoft is fantasizing about winning the browser wars again, right? I mean, there's no way.
No.
So I don't know what their goal is. Hopefully it's double-digit usage share at least.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I mean, it's still beta. Although you make an excellent point that it seems like the insiders would probably all want to use it. Maybe not. I don't know.
Do you think there's a chance they didn't count insiders when they said the 1 billion or whatever?
1 million.
1 million?
Well, no, because everyone goes. No, because even insiders have to go to the same site to get it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's where everyone gets it.
Yeah.
So, by the way, I've been going over this '90s stuff. I mean, just to give you a little perspective on this, in the first 18 months in which Netscape Navigator was in the market, and it came in an early pre-release form at first. They had 38 million users. This product within the first 2 years had been downloaded over 90 million times. This is when people used to connect to the internet with a modem.
Yeah.
There was no broadband back then.
Yeah.
You had to go. You had to know about it. You had to know where to find it. You had to know how to get it, install it, and they did. They did that. That's what they did. People today, I think, are a lot less experimental or excited about the computer. The PC. They do that kind of experimentation maybe on phones. They'll try different apps, for messaging apps, whatever the hot thing is this year, whatever. And I honestly, one of the biggest, I think the thing about Chrome that strikes me the most, the thing that's most successful about it is that it is not the pre-installed browser on any main, popular desktop platform. You have to go find it and get it. Yeah. And people do, like 60-something% of them do just that. It's incredible.
Well, and some workplaces probably standardize on Chrome, right? And so when they pre-install your PC for you with all the apps they want you to have, if they give you a PC at work, they probably put Chrome on it, right? And then you're like, yeah, that's what we use. That's our default.
I think there has to be a significant percentage of very normal people, that category my mother would fall into, who actually do kind of know about Chrome. They know enough about it to go get it, Yeah.
I put
someone has put it on there for
PC.
them. Yeah,
right. I put Chrome on hers, right? Yeah.
I bet your mom loves it.
Now.
Did she say anything? Did she say, "Wow, my computer's so much nicer now"?
I don't trust Google, but
no, she doesn't know that.
No, it kind of confuses her actually, because she, if I say something about the browser, she means, do you mean the one that's the multicolored one or the E? And I'm like,
that's what I'm saying. She wouldn't say, "Oh, I love the browser." She'd say,
"Right,
I love this computer. It's so much better now."
Right. Yeah.
Well, that person could probably do everything they want to do in that browser.
Right.
Yeah.
That person being her mom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Well, that person being most people, really. I mean,
I'm sure she lives in it. So that's what
Yeah, because the reason I put it on there was there were sites at some point not really working with IE or Edge. You remember when some companies just started saying, "Oh, we're not supporting IE anymore," and so that's what she was using. And she every once in a while hit some site, and she'd be like, "I can't get it to work," and then I'm like, "Try it in Chrome." Right.
And it worked.
Yeah. But I hadn't even thought about that 1 million number until you brought this up, and that is low, right? Especially because
especially because
I didn't take the Canary version because I'm like, I don't want something that's updated every day. I took the Dev version because I'm like, okay, weekly update, that's okay, I can deal with that. But insiders are people who are fairly technically competent, right?
Yep.
They wouldn't be afraid of Canary, right?
They should be excited about this. They should want to know about it. I don't. To me, that's just confusing. It begs the question: why did he even mention it? Plus, if this thing had been like 1.37 million downloads, he could have just said millions. No one would have known.
That's true.
Just say millions. I would never have questioned it.
That's true.
Millions make sense. But
we're going to have to dig into that more. I know. Yeah. I know. You're right.
That's not good. That's not good.
Well, let's see how the beta does, because there are a lot of features that are already in the beta that people have been like, like people say, is IE mode in there? Yes, that's in there already, right? Like you said, the syncing capability is in there. Although I don't know if password syncing is enabled. Not yet, right?
Yeah, it's not complete.
Okay. But a lot of things are already there, and you can test them. There's different ways you can go in and test if you want to see how it works. So it's not like something that is like very sketchily there. Like it's there for what did they say? It's there for everyday use by normal people, and they're encouraging businesses to pilot it.
Wow, they're pretty serious about it. It's done.
Yeah,
it's done.
Yeah.
How much have they changed
from Chrome?
Yeah, I mean from Chromium. I mean, is this
so? There's actually a great Microsoft slide from Build where they list all of the Google stuff they tore out of it, and it is a huge list. But as far as day-to-day usage, like you just bring the browser up, you use whatever extensions you use that you got from the Google Chrome store, if you so desire. Syncing your stuff from PC to PC using Microsoft's account instead of Google's. It's very similar to Chrome, right? It can seem almost identical. It has additional features. It has a built-in reading mode, for example. To me, I can't think of a single major thing from Chrome that's not in it. I use multiple Google accounts, for example, and you know how you switch between those in sites. That all works identically as it would. I don't have any compatibility issues with websites. I don't have any performance issues. And the neat thing too, and again, not that this matters to normal people, but Microsoft is contributing back to Chromium, right? And so one of the stories we have today is, Microsoft used to talk about battery life versus Chrome all the time. They used to say, look, this version of Edge is this much better than this version of Chrome, whatever. So now that they're using Chromium, they're like, hey, by the way, Google, if you just made this change, you would have great battery life. And so they actually submitted a code, I don't know what you call that, like they submitted a code change, and Google accepted it. And so in the next, I don't know if it's the next version or the one after that, I think it's an optional feature in Canary today, and it will be a feature in whatever version of Chrome. But they have already handed off some benefit, back to everyone, even to people who aren't going to use their browser. So I don't know. I mean, it's not. Let's say like Opera and I think Brave both use Chromium, right? Yeah. Those look nothing like Chrome, but Edge looks a lot like Chrome, and I think that's by design.
Do you hear from people though? Yesterday when we wrote about the beta, one of the first comments I got was, "You know what? I don't like this. It looks too much like Chrome." And I'm like, "Oh man."
No, but those people are in the tiny minority. When this was first announced, there are Edge fans, of course. There are fans of everything.
Yeah.
And they feel very strongly about it for whatever reason. And they wanted this new version to look exactly like the old version, which has kind of a Windows 10 app look to it or whatever. And I get that. And if you look in the that menu you get on the side, the settings and more menu, whatever they call it, it looks more like it's sort of a cross between the old Edge and Chrome. The settings interfaces, the extension interface, all those kind of things have been modified by Microsoft to look more like a Microsoft Windows 10 kind of thing. They don't look like the old Edge, but it's kind of, again, halfway in between. The majority of people don't feel that way, right? The majority of people use Chrome. So this thing looking like Chrome, I think, is job one. So, and working like Chrome. So
my experience, and this is completely off point, but my experience is that it's a habitual thing. Because I switched from Chrome to Brave, which is basically Chrome. It's a private version of Chrome, and then to Firefox, which I really would never use Firefox because I just thought it looked so crappy. But I've used it long enough now. I'm used to it, and it doesn't.
It's just the way it is.
It's what you're used to. It's kind of how you're used to the font rendering, how you're used to the layout. In fact, now I find there are things in Firefox that I just can't live without. And
that's funny.
Yeah, so now I want to stay with Firefox, and of course, it is of all of them probably the most private. So I think honestly, it doesn't. You don't need to make it look like Chrome. You don't need to make it look like Edge. These people, you're going to get these comments early on, and eventually everybody's just going to get used to it. It's important to have a kind of, I think, a strong aesthetic, a statement about what it is.
So, I mean, so the original Microsoft Edge did have that, what you're saying. It was this independent thing. It was its own look and feel, but
it had a very strong aesthetic. Right.
Yeah, but nobody used the thing. That's the problem. So I think the problem for Microsoft is they're so far behind that they want to just build up that user base.
Copying Chrome doesn't feel right, does it?
I honestly, I don't mind it.
Use the engine because then you're more compatible. You've joined the rest of the world.
No,
but you don't have to make the design the same.
No one was not using Edge because of the engine, right? like the problem for Edge was probably the problem for a lot of things. So it was not one thing; it was a million little things. And for me, I just know because every time a new version of Windows 10 came out, I would always test Edge, and I try to use it, and it would start to wear on you. There'd be like these things that would. It wasn't like it was like this obvious rendering something whatever.
Yeah.
It was more like just, oh, that's not good. I'm like, okay, I can live with that. And then you move on. Oh, geez, this isn't good either. And then it would just kind of add up. And then one day, like, screw this. I know that Chrome works fine. Why would I put myself through this?
Right.
I think they're just trying to avoid that. And I really,
I think there are certain design elements that are just design elements that have been accepted now.
That's true.
Kind of like
a hamburger.
Remember
is a
the hamburger menu thing and like
Mm-hmm.
hamburger menu or the three dots, right? It's like, oh, guys.
Right.
I still don't like that. In fact, when we designed our web page, the designer said, all the research we've done is nobody knows what the hell those three lines are.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just means stuff hidden here.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, people don't click on it. We've learned, I think we've been trained, that was some years ago, but it's still a kind of a rotten convention. I think it's, I bet you if you're Chris Capicella, hi Chris, that you're probably saying we ought to have a unique design language that's all our own for, I won't say
right.
Critch,
Microsoft does. They do have their own design language, right?
So it should fit that. It should be in there.
Yeah.
It shouldn't look like Chrome.
Remember, this is a browser that's going to run across multiple operating systems. So literally four different operating systems, all of which have their own look and feel.
Because everybody on the Mac can't wait to use Microsoft's browser.
Well, and I mean this honestly. So, if this was a Windows 10 looking app, they've been down that path. No Mac user wants to use a Windows 10 app.
I can pretty much tell you no Mac user wants to use a Microsoft.
Well, I actually don't think that's fair because I think a lot of Apple. Well, look, if you feel strongly enough about Google, you're going to use Safari. That's fine.
That's what you're going to use. Yeah.
But
plus the reason they did Mac. Wait, we should bring that up. The reason they brought Edge to the Mac is because of developers.
Yes.
Right.
It's not for users.
normal.
Okay, but I really believe that there is a giant body of people out in the world. They could be using the Mac, they could be using Linux, they could be, they are using Windows, whatever, that they just don't trust Google to some degree. But you have to kind of accept that there is this de facto standard out there of Chrome, and that you just want stuff to work. And if you can get all the good stuff of Chrome without any of the bad stuff, there is kind of a win to that, and that would benefit Mac users too. I don't, that relationship, that kind of, is a little. It should be changed by now, right? It's the same thing with the Linux community. Every once in a while, I get some goon in the comments who's like, I wouldn't trust Microsoft. I've been using open source since 1997. Yeah, great.
I don't talk
Welcome
like
to the 21st
that.
century. No, I don't mean you. And stop going on my site and trashed posting. No, but but that's actually very uncommon these days. And I agree.
Like to
think
I
can
agree.
get past that stuff.
That kind of,
but it still happens.
Perfectionism is not, dogmatic.
Well, that old-fashioned viewpoint, Are you still mad about Germany in World War II? You refused to visit the country?
Well, I won't buy a Volkswagen.
You won't. Well, that's. But by the way, at least that's a modern.
Actually, I'm probably going to buy a Porsche. So okay, never mind. Made by Volkswagen.
Yeah. I don't know the privacy argument, and I know people who listen to our show are savvy about this and might care, but again, normal users, do you think the Google is bad for your privacy thing actually ever took off among people?
I do, because
you do?
It's in the news every day. The front page of the New York Times today had a story about this is how we would break up these companies. Like, this has entered the mainstream. It's something I don't think a lot of normal people thought about, but come on, I think most people on Facebook look at their feed and are like, what is this? What is going on here? Yeah. And then you hear like, oh, this company's terrible. Look at all the stuff they've done. It kind of clicks. So I think it's becoming part of the public consciousness. Yes.
Okay. I don't ever think about it, and I don't know other people who do, but I also live in a different world.
Well, out here in the cornfields of Emmaus, I can tell you, there is great distrust for big companies.
The people at the farmers market said,
"That's right."
Google did.
Yeah, they all have like F Google T-shirts on while they're selling their honey.
They all have the Gmail man pin on their shirt.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Rolling around with Mark Penn eating corn on a stick.
See, the Mark Penn thing.
What is AAD? I see this AAD sign-in thing. What's that?
Azure Active Directory.
Oh, so that's only an enterprise thing. No.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And schools, right? Education uses that as well.
And so that sign-in is available in Edge, but why wouldn't it have been?
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Because it wasn't at first.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
When the new Edge arrived, it was only Microsoft account sync.
Oh, okay. Oh, the sync. I get it. So your AAD account becomes your Edge account, and that's where all your bookmarks are and all that stuff, your settings. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Got it. And finally, this is really interesting. So some people, I think, thought when Microsoft started doing this that they would be, all take, no give.
Right.
But the convention in open source projects, even if it's a big company using an open source project, is to give back. Apple's taken a lot of heat for not giving as much back to the Darwin project as people think, although Apple does put a lot back. But Microsoft, is this its first commit into Chromium?
No, it's not.
So they've been doing this for a while.
They've actually done a lot, but this is a big one. And I had slipped this one earlier, but it's just. Oh,
I'm sorry. I didn't.
This is a big. No, it's okay. This is a big example because a Microsoft engineer actually said, here's the code, just fix it. And Google looked at it and said, okay.
Wow.
and
this is for battery life.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's always been a problem.
It was fast, right? It happened so fast. It was like, here's the code. Okay, yeah, we're doing it. Boom.
Well, that's kind of, I don't know. Did they do a commit? And did they go through the normal process of submitting it and then it got merged in? I
think that's what they do.
Good. Yeah. Well, that can happen very quickly if it's an important fix. That's great. Mm-hmm. That's great. I'm thrilled to hear it.
Yep.
This to me is the beauty of an open source project. I don't care if it's big companies. Sometimes people say I'm not going to use Chromium because even though it's an open source project, it's a Google open source project.
Oh yeah, a lot of people say that.
Yeah.
Listen, when Microsoft adopted this, that's what people were saying. Oh, you can't trust them. They're just gonna.
Well, that may be.
And it's like,
but
that could still happen. But it is open source. I mean, they could still they could still run with it if they wanted to.
Somebody could fork it. Yeah.
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 So I'm glad. That's good. When big companies are good members of the open source community, that's really good for everybody. That's just fantastic. I'm thrilled.
I joke about this because I hate it and it's how I cope. But Microsoft is a big member, big open source supporter now, and
that's a good thing.
It's
Paul.
It's not a Halloween gag. It's like, this is real, guys. This is the new Microsoft.
Yeah, get over it, Thurrott.
We didn't put this in the show notes today, but Microsoft actually is one of the members of the new confidential computing, what's it called? Consortium.
CCC.
That the Linux Foundation announced.
Yeah.
The CCC that the Linux Foundation announced today. Right.
God, this is such a switch because they really were the enemy, right? And it's really great. To me, it's wonderful.
Yep.
You
still have those readers who every time something happens, they're like, Microsoft, they're really just doing this so that one day they can take over Linux. I'm like, guys, really? You're still out there? Okay.
Yeah, that's the plan. They're going to take over Linux.
Yeah. Well, that's not even possible. It's not even.
Well, somebody asked me, actually, on that note, Microsoft obviously adopted Java so that they could usurp it from Sun. They
Good. Good. I'm all. Sun. I like being Oracle. Let's take it away from Oracle.
But now they're like, well, okay. Obviously, they're doing this to Chrome today, right?
Yeah.
It's like, no, guys, this is a completely different company.
And
this is a different world. This is not.
And I completely take Satya Nadella at his word. I mean, this is the new way, and it's the right way.
Yeah. They don't have a choice, really. No. If they don't do this, they're going to become irrelevant.
Yes.
They are.
Right.
They may anyway, but this way they have a fighting chance.
I don't know. for a while, I don't know if Paul felt this, but for a while I was like, okay, I'm going to have to think of my next career because I think Microsoft's going to go away. This was years ago, right? And
well, yeah, but you know what it is? I actually still think about that. And the reason is I focus entirely on the client and specifically really when you think about it on kind of consumer technology. And this is where Microsoft is irrelevant, right? Or almost irrelevant. And I think it will be increasingly irrelevant. I think that is happening. The Microsoft as an entity will never be irrelevant in our lifetimes or whatever because they have adapted. And they're shifting $20 billion in revenue a quarter in cloud-related
But Mary
business
Jo is right. A few years ago, you could have reasonably had that worry.
I had a big doubt about it.
Yeah,
I did.
But that's changed.
Well, there was.
Don't you
there
feel
was
better
the last
now?
decade.
Yeah. No, when Windows was being run by a certain guy whose name I never say publicly.
You shall not be named.
No, he will not be named. So I was thinking, because I felt like everything they were doing was wrong. And I just kind of felt like, wow, I hope they stay around until I can retire, But now I totally feel different.
Do you want that, you're going to go down with Microsoft? Is that really?
No, I was like,
Titanic?
what? It's time for me to brush up on Amazon. I actually said that to a few people. I'm like, I think it's time to hedge my bets.
Yep. I had the same. I had the same reaction. And actually, branch. Well, look, I covered Microsoft from the beginning because at the time in the 1990s, Microsoft was personal computing. The entire world rotated around Microsoft. That was everything. Yeah. Today, Microsoft is a small chunk, I would say, of personal computing overall. And so, I naturally have to branch out, write more about Apple or Google or Amazon or whatever it might be, Facebook. I still very much care more about Microsoft than I do about any of these other companies. And I very much care about Windows more than I care about any other of the products or whatever that we might talk about. But you have to kind of recognize this is a smaller part of what's making this company special going forward, for sure. So it's very relevant, but for me, like the stuff that's relevant isn't all that interesting. I mean, sorry.
You're going to change. You're going to become an Azure Active Directory field guide type of a guy.
No, I'm not.
See, I feel like I could never have picked just one in my career, so I just made it everything.
Yeah.
I'm a generalist.
No, that's a much healthier thing to do.
It is.
I would have felt trapped, frankly, if you said, you can only talk about
I was trapped. I put Windows in my site name. Right? So imagine the world's changing. That guy that you won't say his name was running the show into the ground.
Yeah, you were trapped.
And it's like, great. Yeah, now what?
Yeah.
That's a good point. I didn't even think
of that.
It's like,
sure, we care what you think about an iPhone, Windows boy. It's
Is that why it's now Thurrott.com?
Well, it's why it's not something Windows.
The only trap you are in now is you can't change your name.
Well, I could change my name.
The site's got to stay the same.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
It's terrible. But
I going back to specialize or generalist, when I was studying as a journalist, everybody said, make sure you're a generalist. But then once you specialize, you also have more opportunities as long as you stick to your knitting and your segment, right? So you could argue either one.
Well, and the reason you two are on this show is because that focus has made you, topic experts,
relevant,
subject. Well, yeah, and if Microsoft disappeared, you'd be irrelevant. But you're topic experts. I'm not a topic expert. But on the other hand, my niche is still narrower than a completely general niche. I mean, if you talk radio, I'm a very narrow guy.
I think you're selling yourself a little short, if you don't mind me
too.
saying. You are. I think
I'm the
thing
Linux
that
guru.
makes.
That's
No. Well, maybe you are, but honestly, the thing that makes you special, aside from just your communication abilities, no, I mean this, is you have such an incredible knowledge of such a wide range of topics that we could veer off into anything and you will know something about it and you can speak to it. And there aren't really many people like that. So you can call yourself a generalist, but I actually think you know more about specific, like even the stuff that we talk about than most people do.
Yeah. I'm an enthusiast. So for me, I just love it all. And that's really what really happened is I couldn't pick just one.
Like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah. I couldn't say, well, I only use Windows. No, but I love this. I love that. I love this. So it's just, And then the other thing, I went
yeah.
kicking and screaming when there was this period of time before smartphones in the early 2000s when I would want to talk about computing, and people said, but what's the best Nokia phone? Let's talk about phones.
Yep.
And it was like, I don't want to talk about that. It's boring. You can't do anything with them. You could play Snake. But once phones became computers, they became more interesting, I have to say. So
everything has become computers, right? You can talk about TVs now in a way that you couldn't before.
That's
cars
right.
or
that's right. So I like that beat. I love the beat of digital, information technology, digital, and as time goes by and it becomes AI or it becomes bioinformatics or whatever, I think that it's all fascinaing. So
it is.
Right.
Yeah. And fortunately,
if you don't love it, you're not going to do our jobs.
You shouldn't do it. You couldn't.
No.
You couldn't. You'd be so bored. I remember Sam Whitmore. Remember Sam? Mm-hmm. Great guy. Loved Sam. A really good Windows journalist. And I was sitting on a plane with him one day, and he said, Leo, I just can't do this anymore. He said, I'm bored. I'm bored. And he's now a media guy.
Right.
He was bored.
When was that? When was he bored?
20 years ago. It was a long time ago. It was Tech TV days, I think.
Yeah.
So 15 to 20 years ago. But
things change.
I think that happens. I think that happens, and that's the risk of too narrow a slice.
It is.
Right.
But
I feel like Microsoft is in so many markets. Like if you're bored,
oh my God,
say you're bored with Xbox, you can always go look up Dynamics.
Whoa. Let's use a more realistic
Let's not
example.
go too far.
Let's say you're bored with data lakes.
Data lakes I'm bored with.
Come on.
No, Microsoft, and actually Microsoft saved you because this pivot has made them one of the most interesting companies in the world, not just a technology. They're fascinating. So in a way,
if they were still just the Windows company, I don't think we would.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying.
The Delphi Super Bible. That's what I want to go back to. Those were the days. Oh, Delphi.
Now, even when stuff is hard, like quantum computing and like common data model and all this kind of stuff, I'm like, okay, it's hard and it's hard to understand. And at first you're just like, I can't do it. But then you try because that's the future, right?
You're smart and you read and you study and you wrap your head around it eventually.
Yeah.
That's why we love you guys.
Look at Paul's face right now. He's like, maybe. Quantum computing, I don't know about that one, but maybe.
Well, you have to understand enough to know that it's never going to happen.
Or not the way we think it's going to happen.
Right.
I'm trying. So okay. I guess what I was trying to just figure out is what is or was worse, right? You were talking about the previous regime that ran Windows into the ground in many ways, right? That Windows 8, Windows RT, et cetera. The only thing that was good about those days, and this may be literally the only thing, was that Microsoft considered Windows important, right? It actually gave it a lot of resources. It was a big deal. Currently, I think it's suffering from neglect. I mean, we can't even call what's happening over there a B team anymore. It's more like a C team. We're getting excited over new icons, for programs that should have been updated 10 years ago and have never been fixed, and we're just haphazardly rolling out icons and celebrating it. We're putting emojis and things or nonsense 3D features that nobody uses or whatever it is. For me, because I feel like I want to say stuff. This is what I care about. It's what I care about the most. Yeah. And I get that it's not the priority at Microsoft, but it's not even a priority. It's like it is completely ignored at every level.
I'm not sure I agree. I think they want us to believe it's being ignored, but there's still like 5,000 people who build Windows, right? I mean, it's still a pretty big part of Microsoft, even though they're hiding it.
About the quality of it. Nobody who's anybody would ever go to Microsoft and say, I want to work in the Windows side of the fence. What's that like over there? Nobody. And nobody inside Microsoft who's trying to advance their career or do something excellent or change the world or whatever it is ever going to choose to work in Windows. Windows has become the place where you end up. It's like Arby's at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's the thing that's open.
No, because I think there are places you still can do work. Like, look at all the stuff they're doing with enterprise features, especially in security, right? If you're a cybersecurity person, Windows would be a great place to work, I think. It's a hard challenge, right? Like defending Windows, all the billion Windows machines on the planet.
Yeah, it is a hard challenge. That's why they're trying to get rid of it. I think that's part of the problem.
Won't be retired before it's gone.
No, I know. But I will say, like you said, I looked at Amazon. I reached out to people about this. I was really nervous about what was happening at Microsoft. I'm no longer nervous about Microsoft, obviously. I also feel like Windows will be around long enough. I don't need to worry about it. I'm going to. Yep. I will retire before Windows disappears, from the earth or whatever. On that note, I'm retiring.
Wow, this got dark. This really got dark all of a sudden.
Yeah, 28.1 is what put me over the top.
Philosophical.
And you know what? We forgot to talk about something Paul's going to really... I should get the gong for this. The collections feature in Windows. We forgot to talk about that.
Piece of junk, stupid waste of time. You know what? Actually, all I'll say about this feature is nothing, because my mother told me never say anything if you didn't have anything good to say.
Come on. All right. So, Leo, in the Canary build of Credge, there's a new feature that's been enabled that Microsoft talked about at Build called Collections. So this is... when you're on the web and you're like surfing for a bunch of stuff, and then you're like trying to figure out, how do I look at all these things side by side, or how do I save all the links in one place? This is like a panel that opens up on the side, and you can pull things in there and have them.
I don't like seeing stuff like that in my OS.
Thank you.
It's in the browser. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are great tools like that. There's Scrivener and other tools like that writers like to do. You get all your research in one place. I use a Mac program called DevonThink, same idea. I think it's the application level. I think there's a lot to be said. I mean, I don't know. Why would Microsoft want to do that?
Here's the problem I have with this is, why would Microsoft? Well, they're trying to differentiate the browser, right? Right. The problem is, what this tool is a list maker. Yeah. It's another way to do something that Microsoft already has ways to do.
I kind of do this with folders in my bookmarks. Is it like that?
Yeah. So the original version of Edge had some tab management features that are not coming over because nobody used them. And the idea was that you were doing exactly what Mary Jo just said. You're researching something. I want to buy a washing machine, and I'm comparing.
I do that all the
tabs.
time. I'll make a folder and I'll put my research.
Yeah, but eventually what happens is, when you're actively using the browser, you might have 10 or 15 tabs open, trips to Jamaica, whatever it might be.
Save them as a collection.
You can kind of collect them over to the side, and it kind of cleans up the browser, and you can go back to them later. Yeah. It's fine.
I'm the wrong person to ask because, most geeks have hundreds of tabs open.
I know. I'm looking at my browser right now.
I am a tab hygiene fanatic. I close tabs.
You?
Oh, yeah. I have one tab open right now.
I have about 25, maybe.
Yeah.
Open.
I've really noticed that. It's fun to watch how people use computers. Like, you're not the kind of person, though, that spews icons on your desktop, right?
I have them there, but I don't ever look at them. They're just there.
I just use it as a scratch space.
I have nothing on my desktop. Zero.
Yeah. Oh, when I'm working on something, it's there, and then it gets
You're like Mr. Clean.
Well, I feel like if I file it properly, it's better. I use folders a lot. I use bookmarks and folders.
But for active things, like obviously, if I have an article, like the article series I'm working on, that's not all on my desktop. I have a folder somewhere. But the problem is, if I put stuff in different folders, I wake up in the morning, I sit down, stare at a blank desktop.
Right.
It's like, what am I doing here?
It makes. No, you need that then. Yeah.
That's just the way I work.
I do like. There's a feature in most browsers where you can get a folder and then open all in tabs. Mm-hmm. So I have my homework studying folder, and there's 4 or 5 bookmarks in there, and I open it all in tabs when I'm going to sit down and do that. Mm-hmm.
Like OneNote, right? OneNote's organized like a notebook.
Yeah. So I kind of like that.
Yeah.
If that's this, I guess that's not so bad.
This is a pointless waste of time. Is all this is. There will be some handful of people that will use it and will like it. Well, it's just there was some small handful of people that used that tab management thing I was just talking about. That's the problem.
It should be an extension, not a feature in that browser.
Yes, thank you. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it should be called OneNote. It should be
so
the OneNote extension, so you can access it from OneNote.
That's the curious thing, right?
Yeah,
I'm just puzzled why they didn't do something with OneNote, like OneNote, a special OneNote Lite extension for Edge, right? That I'd be like, okay. But yet again, the new Microsoft, they're so focused on productivity and prosumer stuff that they don't even care if you have 10 different things from them that do the exact same thing, right? They're like, well, you might want one of them.
Problem. This is what I mean when this is. I said this I think on Twitter yesterday. You get this feeling there's no one at the steering wheel, right? Yeah. Microsoft has other products. I just named two that are part of the Windows team. Sticky Notes and OneNote both fall under Windows
and
now.
To Do. What about To Do? That's in there too.
To Do.
Right?
Thank you. There's a third. Great. There's another one. Fantastic.
And there's Planner. There's like a million things. If you go to Microsoft 365, I know.
I don't know why this group would reinvent the wheel. There's great things that the Edge team can do. Great things. And we have a minor example of that in this battery life thing they're giving back to Chromium. It's wonderful. Yep. They have a more fundamental problem than little silly features that only a few people are going to use. They have no one using their browser at all. They only had 1 million downloads of this thing.
I really like your idea, Paul. Make it a OneNote extension.
I know. That would be cool.
I love that idea. That makes sense.
Like a OneNote Lite.
For Microsoft to do that, because now, they make OneNote. They're making the browser. Make it work better with OneNote. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. I mean, I bet they didn't because it's so heavy. Right. It's a big program. But what if you did a light version? Something between Notepad and OneNote.
Or just integrate so that when you open it up, you can work in OneNote and work in the browser.
They have Sticky Notes. Sticky Notes is an incredibly light program.
Yeah.
And it syncs to OneNote.
But
I know, but the point is it can be part of OneNote. It doesn't have to be
like that.
It's not OneNote in a pane.
No, true.
It's a OneNote collections feature.
That's right. That then goes to OneNote if you want it to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a notebook.
I love it.
They're not doing that, so good idea. But
no, they're not.
No.
They're not.
Honestly, this is why everyone should learn to code.
You can tell it's the same people.
So you can write your own damn extensions.
Yeah. Maybe you could use, Power Apps and make something, or Flow, and perhaps.
Actually, that is, in a way, you nailed something. That is the holy grail of this kind of human computing thing. That's what Apple's trying to do with AppleScript. That's what they're doing with Flow, which is make so non-programmers. I mean, that's kind of like Excel macros. So non-programmers can automate stuff.
Microsoft has been working on this forever.
That's why I call it
PowerShell. It's
the holy grail.
The Lighthouse thing that they made before Power Apps was the original version.
It's never happened.
No, because unfortunately, most people can't handle the little turtle and logo. How are they going to handle? What are you talking about? I
crushed my turtle.
All right. The first thing you need to understand is that we have an object model.
No, stop.
There are properties.
I know.
Yeah, and then they're just
no. And Apple tried really hard to do this. They did this thing called AppleScript. Every application had hooks. Yeah, and then they did an automator, and they made it as easy. And now on iOS they have shortcuts, and it's still not easy enough.
No,
it's just too much work.
Yeah.
If this then that.
Even that. Right. Actually,
even that. By the way, that's a good point. Even that is probably too technical for most people.
Yeah.
Do you use it? Have you ever tried?
I use Zapier.
No.
Oh, Zapier is awesome.
Zapier?
Well, it's like if this and that on steroids. They're actually going to be a sponsor. I should give them a disclaimer. But I use if this and that for some simple things, but you can only do if this, then that. Yeah. With Zapier, you could do if this, then that, and then if that, then this, and then But you're right. It's probably
they've added
too much.
An else.
It's got an else. It's great. Yeah. So, for instance, when I in my newsreader, if I favorite an article or I bookmark an article as I'm reading it, it automatically triggers if this then that. I'm sorry, a Zapier to post it on Twitter, but then also to add it to a spreadsheet. So, Karsten, I mean, I have a big workflow.
That's the dream. What you're describing,
right,
is the dream of automation.
If that could be easy. And by the way, it isn't that hard, but you're right. People don't want to do it.
I just think
I'm scared to try because I look at it and I'm like, I can't figure this out.
Oh, you totally can.
Yeah.
Start with if this and that. If that makes sense to you, go to Zapier.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Because then, I mean, you could. The people in our business totally can use it to do even that collections thing.
Yeah.
You could have it go to OneNote in a collections.
Right.
So what both those companies have is integrations with third-party stuff. So if you have Hue lights, you can set up an if this then that script that checks the sunset when the sun goes down, the lights come on. simple things
that's
like
one
that.
of the beautiful things about everything being programmable is that you can hook into almost anything now.
Yeah.
Yep. Have you tried Flow? I'm curious.
I played with it a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. But you think that's way more complicated, right?
No, actually, Flow's pretty close to what you want, I think.
Yeah. I feel like, since I really am a Dynamics 365 champion on this show,
Flow.
I should try using more things like
the
Power
Dynamics
Apps
diva, as we call her.
The reason I don't use Flow is it's a little of a walled garden. So,
although they're opening to more and more third-party stuff
integrations
too.
are key to this kind of stuff.
They have a lot of them.
Yeah,
they do.
Okay, good. The connectors. Okay, good.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'll have to go back and look at it again. Oh yeah, you're right. Look at all this stuff.
They have a lot, right?
Oh yeah.
And they're adding more daily.
Oh yeah. It's pretty heavily enterprise focused.
It is.
Well, Flow is only 365 commercial, right?
But there's they've really added the integrations. Yeah. That's pretty close.
Yeah.
That's pretty close. So, for instance, it's got FreshBooks, another one of our sponsors. You could have your invoicing tied into something else. Actually, this is, this would do it.
Cleo's going to become a Flow converter.
I kind of like Flow. It's got Instagram in it. As long as it's got Instagram.
Yeah, they've got Twitter. They've got a lot of things. Dropbox. Yep.
Oh, this is their competitor to Zapier and If This Then That. They're clearly making this more.
There's a big push on for Flow and Power Apps.
See it.
Yep.
The problem is Microsoft. So it's interesting. If you go and look at If This Then That, it's big buttons and graphics and not a lot of text.
Yeah.
This looks more like an office tool. That looks a little more like something you could press a button and it would do stuff.
Yeah, this is productivity stuff.
Yeah.
And they have the template. Start with templates too that you can use.
I'm looking at the templates. Yeah.
Yeah.
Click a button to email a note, get updates from the Flow blog, get new events in Office 365 to Google Calendar, send a notification. Yeah, so this is pretty sophisticated.
Yeah.
Oh, I like this. I'm going to play with this some more. Yeah, I only did it when it first came out. I haven't seen it since. And they have, it looks like, see, the next step with this would be to have controls so you could have kind of, let me look at the button. Wow. All right. I take it back. Let's take a break. When we come back, Windows 10. There's some mobile news, and there's some Xbox news. Finally. Ori and the Blind Forest. Finally. But first, a word from Wasabi. The world is moving to the cloud. Why wouldn't they? The reasons people say for not going cloud with their business are things like, well, we want to control our own data center, or I'm worried about security. Actually, you should be. But, if you think about all the data breaches that we've been hearing about lately, including these, 23 in Texas city governments, those weren't cloud. Those aren't cloud breaches. Those are breaches of on-prem data. In fact, I would say Wasabi is more secure than anything you can do on-prem because it's done right. That's their business. They're professionals. Wasabi is the newest hot cloud storage, and they're competing, I know, with the big boys, including Microsoft, Google, Amazon, but they're doing it smart. So they've patented way back when, Jeff Flowers and David Friend patented way back when, a new way of writing to hard drives sequentially as opposed to in blocks. And that saved space. It was faster. They actually founded Carbonite based on that. Fast forward, they've started a new company, Wasabi Hot Cloud Storage, and this technique, this patented technique only they have, makes enterprise-grade cloud storage that's 80% cheaper than Amazon S3, 1/5 the cost, 6 times faster, and you can't get more secure. 11 nines of data durability. They have automated disk integrity and file integrity checks that make sure data is not being lost, or bit rotted away. They have something I think is brilliant called immutable storage. You can designate, that file, that folder, that sector, that bucket. That can't be changed by anything, by an employee, by ransomware. That's exactly what you want. Hot cloud storage that protects your data. 11 nines of durability. And by the way, more than one data center, complete data center redundancy. It's HIPAA compliant, FINRA compliant, CJIS compliant. So actually that gives you some sense of the security as well, right? It's data privacy. It's critical for businesses to be able to efficiently and affordably store all their data. And Wasabi, I just want you to look at it because it blows away the competition. Low cost, high speed, fully secure. It's everything you need. It's got all the boxes checked. There's only one thing. Everybody's looking at the other guys. Just add one name to that list, would you? Wasabi Hot Cloud Storage. Take a look at the savings. Show the boss 1/5 the cost. Oh, it uses the S3 API. You already know it. So it'll work with all your tools already. And they don't, unlike S3 and a lot of the others, they don't charge for egress. It's free. They don't charge for API requests. It's free. You're going to save a ton. Wasabi, wasabi.com. Click the free trial link, enter the code Windows. You'll get an unlimited free trial. You can put as much data as you want for a month. You can really bang on it. Join the movement. Migrate your data to the cloud with confidence. Go to Wasabi, W-A-S-A-B-I, wasabi.com, and make sure you use the offer code Windows so that they know you heard it here. Paul and Mary Jo get credit. Thank you, Wasabi, for your faith in us. Thank you, our Twit family, for using that offer code. Windows at wasabi.com. Speaking of Windows, 20H1. What's new?
I like the word immutable, by the way.
Immutable. Isn't that a great word?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a good computer programming term, like this, a variable that is immutable. I guess
That's
a concept.
functional programming. No. That's
it's
functional programming. That's what I'm all over, man. That's the thing I love. You can't change it. It's what you need. The problem, that's why we have so many bugs, because variables are getting changed and the program doesn't know about it. And suddenly you're running to a zero pointer. Don't get me started. Mutable's bad. Bad mutable. Bad.
Mutable is bad.
20H1. Say something.
I just have one word to say about 20H1,
Yes.
build 18963.
Yes.
Paul knows what the word will be.
What?
Notepad.
The new Notepad's here. The new Notepad's here.
Notepad is
actually,
now
it's not.
store updatable.
Oh, that's good.
Boom.
It wasn't before?
No.
Because it wasn't a store app.
Right.
Right. Why,
So,
Mary Jo, is this
why?
important or good? I'm just curious.
So I'm not saying it's necessarily good.
Mm-hmm.
So in theory, the reason they're doing it is so that they can make updates and fixes to Notepad outside of the feature update schedule. But to me, the word updates is worrisome.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't mean
It
like
should be.
adding 3D to Notepad, hopefully.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, what's the point? Like, why?
Right. Well,
Here's-
they're adding more and
I
more
think-
features to Notepad, right? I
No,
mean,
but why? Like-
for
like,
programmers. For programmers.
For Mary
Why?
Jo freaking Foley.
No. So I guess what I'm saying, this is a lot like the collections feature. There's no reason that Microsoft couldn't develop a new text editor and release it as a store app.
Right.
But the
why?
Notepad that's built into Windows, you don't touch that. You leave that alone.
Well,
It's
they
fine.
haven't been leaving it alone, right? There's the new indicator for unsaved content, expanded line support, and line ending support, wraparound search. All those things already got added to Notepad.
I know.
All I can say,
I don't
as
like
you
it.
know, is I don't care if they add some nice things for programmers. That's good. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But don't make Notepad into a cluttered, horrible, big, honking
Right.
mess.
Right. Yeah. Don't
It needs
add
to stay
rich
a
font
lightweight
support. Don't.
text editor. Right.
I agree. Exactly. But that's what.
Yeah.
But if Microsoft, if for some reason, with all of the things that one could fix in Windows, they've determined that they need to update Notepad so often that it has to become a store app. Okay, that's ridiculous. Maybe what we're talking about here is a different app. You could call it Notepad Pro.
No,
know?
so look what they're doing, though. They're taking things that have traditionally been part of the OS that aren't really the OS, like Paint, like WordPad, like Notepad, and they're kind of pulling them out finally. And the browser also. Like none of these things are the operating
But
system.
these are
right?
legacy tools, though. I mean,
Yeah, they are.
you have something like, for example, Microsoft Edge is a great example of something that needed to be updated way more than twice a year, right?
Yes, agreed.
And so making that a separate install It's not a store app, but whatever. It's available outside of the OS. That makes tons of sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could scroll around the start menu and look at, just go down to that part of the start menu no one ever visits. Windows accessories. Are we going to pull character map into the store? I mean, how about, the printing thing or remote desktop? Well, I guess actually there's a remote desktop. Snipping tool or, Windows fax and scan, Windows media player. Like, why don't we pull that into the store?
I think they are, right? They are. Okay. But the other part of the equation is probably they're trying to make the OS something they promised forever, more modular and lighter and less entangled with a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah. No, Google's doing the same thing with Android.
Yep, it's
good. It's good in theory. The haphazard nature in which they're doing it is the problem. Arbitrarily choosing Notepad as a thing we're going to update frequently enough that it needs to be in the store, to me is unbelievable. Like it just makes no sense.
Yeah,
I guess you mentioned a couple of features. There's I can't remember what you called it, but there's a little asterisk or whatever in the title bar.
Yeah, indicator for when there's unsaved content. Yep. This
is not in any other app in Windows. It's only in did someone just come fresh out of college and this was like their internship program? Like why would anyone turn their attention to that? I find it to be a bizarre thing.
I guess to me, everyone knows I love Notepad. It's kind of a universal known thing that I am the queen of Notepad.
I use it.
Right, but
you use it too, Paul?
He does.
I know. Mary Jo's not the only one, guys. I know. She talks about it a lot, but
what do you use it for? What I mean, I know Mary Jo writes in it, right?
I do.
But you don't write in it.
No, I'm normal. So, no, I'm sorry. I use a lot of plain text documents. I use a lot. I just use it for a lot.
Does Microsoft? Do they still do WordPad? Is that still around?
Yes.
That's still a thing?
It is.
And that's kind of like mini Word.
That's going to be a store app too, I bet. Right?
Yeah, maybe. So, back when that thing was called Write, right? And I probably debuted in Windows 3.1 or 3.0, whatever it was, I don't remember. But, I mean, a lot of people thought that thing was legitimate competition to word processing of the day. And it probably was. WordPad today is like a relic of yesteryear. It was one of the first apps that got that Ribbon UI, whatever year that was, where they did it to Paint as well. Paint and Notepad or WordPad both got Ribbon UIs, but I don't believe it's not compatible with anything. You can't really open Word documents in it. They look terrible.
No. Right.
It works with like RTF document type, which is just, non-standard. I don't know. I don't understand.
What I was going to say about Notepad is I think the reason they're adding all these things are for developers, right? A lot of developers use Notepad, just like how Microsoft is making a lot of enhancements around Windows Subsystem for Linux, looking at the developer community. I feel like that's why they're making changes to Notepad right now.
I have a huge problem with this. Again, what you're describing is a different application. Microsoft makes Visual Studio Code, by the way.
They do.
If anyone wants to edit plain text as a developer. Yep. I don't know. I just don't see. I don't see. This focus is bizarre to me.
I need to make a backtrack for a minute. I didn't realize this. Taro Elhonen says there is a OneNote extension for Credge and Chrome already.
Yeah, there is. No, but it's not.
It's just a clipper.
Right. What we were talking about was this idea of a collections type feature that could be a special kind of notebook in OneNote in the way that your what do you call them? The sticky notes are also available inside.
Okay. Oh, right. So you're just saying integrate it in with OneNote, not necessarily use OneNote.
You already have this great tool for making lists and whatever.
Gotcha.
You can bring over some of the even Sticky Notes has list making capabilities.
Yeah. I haven't used Sticky Notes in so long, and that's something else they've added a lot of new features to. Like you can actually clip photos and put photos in Sticky Notes now, and use different colored inks and do equations. But like the way you feel about Notepad and why, I feel like Sticky Notes why.
No, but Sticky Notes is. Let me think about this before. I mean, if they were to release Sticky Notes as a store app, that would make sense to me. That's fine.
I bet they will.
Because it is.
You think?
That's fine, but that's fine.
Yeah.
But we're talking about Notepad. Notepad is Notepad's the type of thing that developers should look at once every 10 years, just to make sure there isn't a security violation.
They got an intern in, and he said, "Hey, I can make this better."
That's what I'm thinking. Some guy came in and was like, "I can make this modern."
Polar Fan in our chat room has actually an interesting theory. Does it have anything to do, you think, maybe with Windows Lite?
Maybe.
Like, if you get Windows Lite,
that's why they're dumping things out of the OS, right?
And it makes more important that the existing I call them accessory apps. Are better. Maybe because
I
separate,
guess what I'm saying is it's arbitrary. There are 20 or more accessories in Windows, legacy accessories. Arbitrarily, they've taken one of them. They've added a bunch of new features to it over the past year. Now, some of them aren't completely arbitrary. Like, for example, they added the Unix style line endings. There's a Unix command line, or
you need that.
WSL. Yeah. That's fine. That's cool. I get that. That's
maybe WSL is the point. Come to think of it.
Yeah, I kind of think it is too.
I didn't even think of that.
I do.
I mean, anybody who uses Linux probably knows that there's Nano and then VI or but it's nice to have like a little text editor for config files and stuff. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. And there's also completely credibly the theory that they're doing it just for Mary Jo.
If they are, I would like to know so I could give some requests. And my request would be leave it alone. Stop putting things in.
Take it out of the store and just leave it alone. That's my request as well. Leave it alone. It's fine. Yeah, and like I said, it's fine that they want to make a more advanced text editor. I mean, it's kind of a CS 101 type project, I guess, but there are a million of them. But if Microsoft wants to take that on for some reason, that should be a different application.
If there's more than one person working on this, they're really blowing it.
I bet there are.
There's literally no reason
one person
can
resume,
do it all.
Like driving customer value through improvements to Notepad, the premier text editor in Windows.
I'm on the Notepad team.
Yep.
We have Pizza Friday, and then we have a big bug hunt.
Yes. I bet there are over 1 million users of Notepad.
True.
I bet there are.
True.
I bet there are.
We just spent almost an hour talking about the new Edge. Maybe we don't spend enough time talking about Notepad.
I agree, as you know, with that. But, yeah.
Oh my God.
We should also mention some of the other features. I did just jump to Notepad, but there were some other new features in that 20H1 build that came out Friday. Like a GPU temperature monitoring option for Task Manager.
That's good. Like that.
Yep. What else? Some kind of lighter ones. You can rename your virtual desktops.
Yep. Oh, and by the way, actually, that's big.
Features.
That one's big.
Yeah.
Remember, one of my big complaints about virtual desktops was that they don't retain between boots. Yeah. That's changing, and those names are part of that. So
Oh, good.
They're actually, 6 years later or whatever, they're finally going to fix that.
That's great.
5 years, I guess.
I use those all the time. I love that.
Yep. Yeah. No, those will actually be good now. That'll be like something you could actually recommend to people now, because before, the way it is now, they don't reconstitute themselves when you reboot. It's sort of, it's
you have
kind
to set it all up again.
Process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Also, mouse cursor speed can be set from within settings.
Like that. No, that's a big deal. I always turn it up. I want my mouse cursor to move fast.
See, everybody, 1 billion users, everybody has their thing.
Yeah.
For them is like, I need that. I want that.
Well, but my thing, and I feel like I've expressed this in multiple ways in this episode somehow, is the haphazard nature at which Microsoft does things. And that mouse cursor thing at speed is another example. There are still 2 places in Windows where you can configure your mouse. They've added one feature from the old interface to the new interface. That's what actually, they're doing it next year. This is a product that's not shipping until 2020.
Right.
I mean, it's just like, it's like, guys, could you do like a quality control thing where you just apply the new UI everywhere at once? Like we used to in the old days. You don't, when Windows XP shipped, it didn't only have the UI in some places; it had it everywhere. That it's just, or whatever. Windows 7.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sorry,
you.
I'm ranting.
I got you though.
Stuff makes me crazy.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Feel you, Paul.
I feel you too.
My Note 10 comes tomorrow, and I'm really excited. One of the first things I'm going to do is plug it in with a Type-C cable to my Surface, or actually my Lenovo, to see. Because right now...
Paul's got one too, right?
Did you get it? Oh,
Yep.
you show off. How'd you get it so quick?
I don't know. It just arrived today.
Oh, maybe mine will.
Did
It
you?
was supposed to come Friday.
Yeah, it's supposed to come
Have you-
Thursday.
Have you done anything with it yet in terms of trying to connect it to Windows?
See, that's what I'm
through the-
fascinated. Because
Right.
both, by the way, this is Windows and Mac.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Well, I care because what's great is
I know.
cross-platform. So I can
know.
store stuff on my phone, plug it into either, because I use both. And it shows up on the desktop, right? And your text messages. And I think this is really interesting. Have you done it?
Yeah. So the Windows Dex app is not available yet.
Oh.
So when you
forget it.
connect with a USB cable,
It's
it's going to be out in, I guess, 2 days or something.
Oh, okay.
The thing that Mary Jo was referring to, I think, is the link to Windows button that's in the quick list or whatever. That works. It works fine. It works. So when you click on it, it launches your phone companion. You sign into your Microsoft account. You go to your computer. It connects up. It's just
we've had that before.
Yeah, it's just a quicker way to do the thing we've already been able to do.
But
And
it's now,
cleaner,
right?
right?
It's now in your settings. Okay.
It's way
Much
easier.
better.
Yeah, it's definitely easier.
Yep.
I will
Good.
say, even I have screwed that up. Well, I don't think I did it, but I've had trouble connecting a phone to a particular Windows PC on more than one occasion. So, yes, that is easier.
Me too.
One thing people might be interested to know is that there's a folder on the desktop called Microsoft, like there's one called Google. The Google one, of course, has probably 10 apps in it. The Microsoft one has 4 apps in it. Those apps are LinkedIn, Office Mobile, OneDrive, and Outlook. I didn't realize this. Leo probably already knows this, but Android doesn't you can't go into Android settings and say, here's my default email program. Like, that's not one of the things in the list. Because I was kind of curious, is Outlook already configured as the default email program? Because Samsung actually doesn't ship their own email program on this phone. This Gmail is there, obviously. So I haven't screwed around with it yet, but I suspect, I think the way Android apps work by default is the app can ask you if you want to be the default or something like that. So I haven't
interesting.
seen that.
I never thought of that. Yeah, they have messaging, browser, even things like the phone app and the launcher.
You think that would be in the list?
Yeah, why isn't mail in there?
I don't know. Yeah, I was confused by that too.
That's an interesting point. Yeah.
Is it because you need Office 365 if you want to use
Well,
that
but you
version
might
of
have
Outlook?
another mail program on there, including the one provided, which is probably the default. I do think that what happens when you click a link, you're right, Paul, is it will say,
you can choose at the time.
Here's what could open this. Do you want to do this
Make
just once, or do you want to always do it?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But it's still a little weird to me that that's not one of the things. Like if you go into the settings interface for default apps, you would think email would be one of the choices.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to specify a default. You could say always ask. Anyway, they don't. That's just something I didn't know about Android. But the Office mobile app is the interesting one to me, because what this is a lot like is the old Office mobile app on Windows Phone, right? So instead of having Word and Excel and whatever, it's kind of another way to see your recent documents, shared documents, et cetera. It's a little bit like OneDrive, frankly.
Yeah.
I haven't done this yet, but I suspect if you have a list of your applications in there and you click on a Word doc and you don't have Word installed, it's going to prompt you to install it. But Word is not installed by default. I'm returning this, by the way. I should have gotten the bigger one. I'm stupid. for not
I got
doing
the big
that.
one. Yeah, let me see it. Hold it up.
I've already ordered the new one. So
okay, can you hold it up, or you already put it back?
Oh,
in
I'm
the
sorry.
box?
Yeah. This is no, it's all smudgy from my
It
fingers.
looks so big. Oh, you did get the shimmer back though.
Well, no, but look. So let's see. Like, this is a Google Pixel 3a XL. Look how much smaller it is. Like, it's that much.
There's no bezel. Yeah.
Okay, but
There's no chin, there's no forehead.
It's very thin, very thin, and light, and
I'm excited.
the screen's obviously beautiful.
And I'm an S10 user, and I love my S10 Plus.
I love the UI, by the way.
The one UI,
the icon style,
really
and
gotten better.
It's really nice.
Yeah. Samsung has
the Samsung stuff used to be garbage.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
So I'm kind of looking forward to just trying Dex. I don't know that
Yeah.
To me, the notion of so Dex before you had to have just kind of a floating around monitor, keyboard, and mouse. Now you just plug it into your existing computer. So if you have a working computer at home, the phone can become a you're transporting your stuff. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's the briefcase. Remember the briefcase? It's the briefcase.
Yeah.
The briefcase in Windows 95.
Yeah. It's now a phone.
Right.
I don't know if I'll use it or not, but
yeah,
I can't wait to see what it looks like. Oh, I'll try it. That's one of the, like I said, the first things I'll try, except that I can't.
Yeah.
I guess it's not.
My understanding is that app will become available on Friday.
Okay, good.
I don't remember where I read that, but when you click on the link, it says, you have to download the app. You click on it, it just goes to Samsung.com. It doesn't resolve. Whatever that site is not available yet. Right. I think it's SamsungDex.com.
Okay.
Is the URL.
Okay. Yeah, because I have the Dex. I bought a Dex Puck, and then it turned out I found out later that it's just a standard USB thing. It's
just a USB-C hub. Yeah, exactly. You could use anything.
Yeah, so I bought a little $12 thing that had the ports on it. But
so
this, to
Microsoft
me, is even
had
more
that
exciting.
same system. Remember, Windows Mobile had Continuum. The same deal. It was and they made a Puck and monitor, keyboard, mouse, whatever.
It's very interesting.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's right. Only HP made. There was one phone that did it, right? That HP Elite, nothing else. Yeah.
No, there were a couple. Microsoft's did it.
Were there?
Yeah. The Lumia 950, I think, and 50. So.
Yeah.
You had to have a high end. It was a particular chipset at the time, whatever year this was. 835 probably, I think, was part of the requirement. It had to have a pretty high end chipset. Those were the days. Actually, those weren't the days. Those days were terrible.
The idea was cool, right? Like we were all kind of excited about the idea. Like, oh yeah, then you could just carry your phone and
It might
remember
be
at the
same
time
idea.
too.
Yeah.
Supposedly, the mobile versions of the Office apps were going to become the defaults, even on Windows 10, right? And so there was this notion that they were going to put a lot of resources into it, and it was going to become really nice. And then you could plug your phone into a monitor and get pretty much full featured Word or whatever. And that sounded like a great idea, but it never really moved past cartoon stage, unfortunately. Oh, well.
As long as we're on mobile, the SMS Organizer app, what's that? And do I want it?
Yeah, I know. I looked at this too. So there was a Microsoft Garage incubation project called SMS Organizer, and it was made for the Indian market. And it looks like now they're beginning to roll it out more broadly to the US, UK, and Australia. What it is it replaces your built-in SMS text messaging with this, and it gives you different options for decluttering it. So like if you get spam in your text messaging, which we all do, it'll go into one folder. If you get offers, it'll go into another folder. You can have reminders to do things like pay this bill on Friday.
It's like mail sorting only for SMS.
It is.
Okay.
Exactly.
Oh.
It does replace your built-in SMS. So you have to agree to that, I believe, in order to use it.
I don't want that, no.
Me neither.
I don't get that many SMSs that I need to sort them.
Yeah. Some people get a lot. Like, I think that's why in the Indian market, a lot of their communication was coming through that. So it made sense for that market. But yeah, I don't know how many people would want it here. It makes it look cleaner. So if you get a lot of text messages, and you also, by the way, can back up your existing SMS messages before you replace it so you won't lose conversations. But I don't know. I'm like, do I get that many that I would do that? I don't know.
Do you remember earlier this year there was a story going around that good morning messages in India were the thing, and they were clogging up people's phones?
Oh man!
They would that it was considered de rigueur to send a message with a beautiful image to all your family and friends to say good morning.
Wow.
And this
is why I'm not friendly to people. I'm trying to protect the internet. You're welcome.
This happens to me on holidays because a lot of my extended family uses text messaging to say Merry Christmas and
they send images.
Gets to be a nightmare on holidays.
Your phone just keeps bleeping over there in the corner.
Yeah.
That's what this app is for. Now I understand. It's coming here because that is coming here.
Yeah, if I could put all my niece's messages into that folder, it might be good.
Yeah, exactly. Shh. She doesn't listen to this show, does she?
She does not, luckily.
Okay.
I'll tell you. Next time I see her.
She thought she was being nice to Auntie Mary Jo.
She did. Yep.
Just remember, folks, your elders do not necessarily want to hear from you.
Jeez.
No, I want to hear from them, but not
again and again.
Not that way.
And again and again. Skype to phone is now officially a telco service in the Netherlands.
Yeah. So this is just one of, I don't even know
It's
if
interesting.
this. Yeah, it's not so relevant to anything, but it's just so weird,
It's
right?
fascinating. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the world this is the new world. That's what.
Does that
Right.
open it up to some kind of regulation or something?
Probably,
Or what's the point of
right?
that?
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
it
the whole
does.
point.
So in the Netherlands, Microsoft, this just happened today, I believe. Skype to phone calling, which they call Skype out, the ability for Skype to call landlines and call mobile phones.
We should say every time we hang up on each other, Skype out and just leave.
Skype out, like peace out.
Yep.
Yeah, that service in the Netherlands now has been officially designated as a telco service by EU regulators, which means it's subject to all the regulations that telcos are, and they have to do things that telcos in that country do. Like they have to ensure 112 emergency numbers are always available. They have to be very public and explicit about all data breaches. So things like that, which is kind of interesting. Microsoft was fighting this, by the way. A lot of people think that they want to make Skype into something that rivals the telcos, but Microsoft was fighting this tooth and nail, and they lost.
They would like it to replace the telcos. They just don't want it to be regulated.
Regulated. Well,
No.
yeah. That's why I can.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting.
So, if you're wondering, is this going to happen in other countries or what does it mean for Skype in the long term? I don't really know. But right now, this is just in the Netherlands.
Yeah, but I think I could see how Microsoft might think this is a bellwether that.
Yes.
And it is a telco.
I asked them for comment, but no comment so
If you're
far.
calling
Is there any kind of
phones-
quality of service requirement for a telco? Because I can assure you,
that would be kind of awesome, right?
we're falling short there.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're maybe more worried that there's fees that telcos have to pay, things like Lifeline fees, and they don't want to pay those. But by the way, in order to call a phone with Skype, you pay money to Microsoft. I mean, it's not free.
Right.
So it is.
Although,
a
by the
telco.
way, I put $1.12 in there about 5 years ago, and it's like a bottomless pit of money.
I know.
Still
I've
in
never
there.
seen anything like it.
It's because you never call phones.
No, I do though sometimes.
I
mean,
pay for a phone number. My Skype has a number.
Yeah.
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 That's a telco. I mean, of course it should be regulated like a telco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're providing telephony services. If there's a phone
I think
number.
it's the first time, though.
Yeah, isn't that
that's
funny?
been ruled. Yep.
Well, this is kind of the way it is. The digital services are so new that they get a pass for a while. The reason was no sales tax for a long time on the internet. They get a pass for a while, but eventually people say, they're doing the same thing.
Right.
Telcos are regulated. Shouldn't this?
Yeah.
It's the argument against Uber.
Yeah, same thing. Perfect example.
Yep.
They're putting cabbies out of business.
Yeah.
So I saw this story. We almost I didn't really talk about it on yesterday on Mac Break Weekly, but the guy who was in charge of Siri has gone to Microsoft, but not in a capacity you might expect.
No.
Right.
What's he doing?
He is going to be working for the company's chief technology officer, whose name is Kevin Scott, who came to Microsoft through the LinkedIn acquisition. So Kevin Scott's like the Uber CTO at Microsoft. And this new guy, Bill Stacey, who was the Apple vice president of AI and heading up Siri, is now going to work for him on kind of a cross-company initiative where they're trying to get all the different teams to talk together.
Not even AI.
AI will be one of the areas, but it's not exclusive to AI at all.
So his skill set is organizational as opposed to
I guess,
computer science.
And what's funny, if you the information is the one who broke the story, but then I went on LinkedIn and I looked him up, and I'm like, oh, he already changed his profile to show he's working at Microsoft.
That's how they find these stories.
I
Well,
know,
I think
right?
by the way, I don't think that was when the information published it. That isn't how they found out. He still said he was working at Apple, right? Like he had not been working at Apple since December of last year.
Oh, he hadn't changed it.
Oh, really?
And he never changed his job, his job listing or whatever.
So he lied on LinkedIn. Then he said he left Apple in May.
No,
I don't think there's a penalty for lying on LinkedIn.
No, there's not.
I could have the date wrong. My point was he didn't just leave Apple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. He did not just leave it. Right.
Essentially jobless for some number of months.
Maybe, or maybe there's a non-compete. There's all sorts of things that can go on.
Yeah. He's been working
I didn't mean he was, holding a sign at a street corner. I just meant that he was. I'm sure he's fine.
He was probably on a round-the-world cruise, enjoing life.
Exactly.
I mean, my tip is where you can virtually tip this guy some money, so he can make it through the couple of months.
We'll CTO for food.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Will AI for food.
Will AI for food.
Yep. So his new title, if he didn't lie about that on LinkedIn, is Corporate Vice President of Technology.
Liar.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So I've seen a couple people say, oh, this is going to be awesome because you know what he's going to work on at Microsoft, right? And I'm like, nope, that's not what he's working on.
That's not what he's working on. Yeah.
That happens a lot. I think we assume that if somebody's working on something that they have an expertise in that area, they may not actually have.
No, that's right.
Yeah. Right. I don't know where he had come from before Apple, but he wasn't part of the original Siri team or anything like that.
Guess where he
arrived.
He's a manager. Where?
Amazon. He came from Amazon.
Oh, Amazon.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Okay.
A revolving door with these companies.
Yep.
And J Clarity, you want to talk about what that is and why Microsoft bought it?
Sure. We kind of alluded to this when we were talking about Sun and Microsoft and Oracle and Microsoft, but Microsoft bought this company called J Clarity, and what J Clarity does is the Open JDK project. They've been really instrumental in that. The Open JDK project is like the alternative to Oracle's Java JDK project. Oh. So Microsoft bought them, and the idea is they're going to use their technology for Azure because so many workloads in Azure now are Linux-based, and so many Microsoft customers are using Java with Azure. Yeah. They bought these guys to help.
That sentence is nonsense.
I know, right?
Linux, Azure, Java. What are you talking about?
What a world.
What a world.
What has happened?
What a world.
More than half of all compute workloads on Azure are Linux, Paul Thurrott.
I use OpenJDK in Linux all the time because...
Do you?
Yeah.
So now you're going to be using something that Microsoft has
You're
a big...
one of those guys.
Well, honestly, I don't want to... Oracle kind of seems like they've stopped support for Java.
They have.
So it's like,
I know. Oracle as a steward of Java.
Did they buy Sun just so they could sue Google? Was that the only point?
Literally, I interviewed Jonathan Schwartz, one of the last CEOs at Sun.
Yeah.
And it was on Triangulation. You can watch it. And he said when the Oracle executives came in, they were practically rubbing their hands with glee in our IP, our intellectual property, because that was the whole point.
Yep.
They were really excited about all the lawsuits they could start.
I mean, I guess you got to make money somehow, but I don't feel like, I mean, well, we don't have to get into this.
Just out of curiosity, what is everybody uses Oracle, right? In enterprise. Is it a good product?
No, it's
People
not.
hate Oracle.
No, you can. That's why, Mary Jo, when we were in San Francisco, and I walked into that group of Oracle guys, and I was like, "Attention, Oracle programmers, you are all wasting your lives." That's why.
And Oracle ran away because they were circling us, like circling the wagons.
But like, what are all these goons doing here? And she goes, "They're with the Oracle show." And I'm like, "Oh, I can fix this."
They're making money. They're making money hand over fist.
Yeah. So, but this always baffles me in business. Why are businesses choosing Oracle then? It's just the default.
So, yeah, right. I don't know. I mean, I can't speak to it technically. What I have heard again and again and again is from people who have to administer or write software that accesses their APIs. That all of those interfaces are terrible and have always been terrible.
Yeah.
And are ancient looking.
Yeah.
And are nothing as Microsoft makes beautiful interfaces for admins and for developers when it comes to their database stuff. I cannot explain the success of Oracle.
It's just fascinating.
No,
People like the rub on tan thing or something. I don't know.
No, they've been there forever, right?
Yeah,
and
I know.
People have maintenance contracts with them that just go on and on and on, and that's how they make their money.
Oracle is still alive and Sun isn't is one of the greatest injustices in the history of computing.
So sad, because Sun really was an innovator. Yeah.
Some trivia: Larry Ellison just turned 75.
Oh wow.
Doesn't look like Dave.
That's why
Brady.
they're still alive. He's never going to die. The guy's going to live forever.
Well, it's not even like he's still. I mean, he kind of supposedly gave up day-to-day running of the company a long time ago, right? But he's super involved, isn't he?
But he hired Mark Hurd, right? Or who was it?
The disgraced former
HP CEO. And he said that was shameful that the board fired him. He's now an Oracle president.
Right.
That's amazing.
Luckily, this is not called Oracle Weekly because we would just be
the
sounding the
podcast
gong constantly.
Right.
Just fascinating. It's funny. I've been wondering this for years, and I don't know why I never asked. I just assumed there must be it must do something better than anything.
Yeah, like you're going to find someone who's going, oh no, it's incredible. You're never going to find that human being. Yeah. You are not going to find that person. I'm sure there are people who respect it, and they use it. It's their job, whatever. But I respect it. I refuse to believe that people love that stuff.
Wow, isn't that wild?
I refuse to believe.
Wild. Well, go open JDK then.
Even SharePoint makes more sense than Oracle.
Woo!
Be careful, Paul. Don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Exactly.
I know.
Gardner in our chat room, who is fairly technically literate, says the database is solid, over-engineered, and expensive. It's not loved, but it's relied on. It probably has a high transaction rate. It's big iron software. Right.
Yes.
Right. And they were credible in the database market when SQL Server used to be considered a toy, right? That's not the case anymore.
By the way, yes. But you know what? But the Oracle SQL Server thing is very similar to the VMware Hyper-V thing. I always thought that as Microsoft's products became more technically proficient and scaled higher, they put SQL Server on Unix or Linux, I guess, or whatever. I always thought that those products were going to overtake the other stuff, and they never have. They never have. And maybe it's just because they came up out of Unix.
About it.
And maybe that was the whole.
If you have to handle, hundreds of thousands of transactions a second, and a database that's spread out over 15 network centers all over the world, there aren't a whole lot of tools that can do that.
Well, Microsoft has one called Cosmos DB, right?
Yeah.
That's their newest database.
But are you gonna risk, your entire operation on that? Or you already got Oracle
on a database.
I know. If you have Oracle already,
you already got Oracle.
It's just like the browsers in a way, right? Like when you have something that works, to now suddenly say I'm going to go to this.
No, but
it's mission critical. Especially.
Microsoft destroyed so many products and markets and companies or whatever. Yeah. There was always this assumption that this would happen in the server space. And I think what has happened, you can see it, is Microsoft in the server space has plateaued. And of course, now we're moving to cloud, so it's kind of beside the point. But all that stuff's moving to the cloud. So, SQL Server was riding that train, Exchange was riding that train, the virtualization software Hyper-V was riding that train. It just seemed like it would happen eventually, but as it turns out, Windows Server versus Unix, it plateaued. It was growing really fast for a long, long time, and then we stopped hearing about that stuff. No one ever talks about SQL Server beating Oracle anymore, ever.
Except Microsoft people, but
I don't think they do. I bet they don't. I bet they talk about working with Oracle.
I know. Well, yeah, the whole partnership thing, but they still do migration, offers and things like that to try to get people off Oracle onto SQL Server.
It clearly has not been a big success for them.
Well, why switch?
Getting people to leave Oracle.
Come on. John Hancock Insurance is not going to say, well, come on, bring in the SQL Server guys. Let's just see what they got to say.
Right. Let's just see. I want something that runs on Windows.
Yeah. Let's just see what they got. The fact, I'm guaranteed they lock that door at night and they don't want anybody going in that room. That's just like that. Don't touch it. It's working.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sure that's true.
Yeah. Xbox time.
Paul
Thurrott.
Xbox and Odor.
Talk about Xbox. I'm going to go get a cup of coffee. Mary Jo and I are going to have a beer. We'll see you in a minute or two.
This is pretty quick. There is a really nice game called Ori and the Blind Forest that came out, I want to say 5-6 years ago on Xbox. It might even be like a 360 game. I don't remember exactly, but a couple years ago, 3 years ago, they did a definitive edition where they updated it with 4K, HDR, et cetera, for Xbox One. And this week, Microsoft announced they're bringing that to the Nintendo Switch. Obviously, it's not going to have 4K. It's going to be 1080p, but it has a lot of the definitive additions that they made, and so that's kind of cool. In the bad news department, right in the wake of that little announcement, Microsoft also revealed that they are done bringing Xbox exclusives to other platforms. So Ori, I don't remember if Ori and the Blind Forest was an Xbox exclusive, but remember Cuphead is coming to Nintendo Switch. I guess they're not going to do that anymore, and I don't know why. It's always seemed like a good idea to me, but yeah, there you go. There are a lot of gamers that complain about that kind of stuff. Microsoft doesn't have exclusives, blah, 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 whatever. PUBG, which was the battle royale game that a few people were playing before Apex Legends and, geez, I just forgot the name of it. Fortnite, sorry. Fortnite's the big one. I just, that super popular thing I never play. I can't think of the name of it.
Yeah, that game where people dance? Yeah, that thing.
yeah, that one. Yeah.
And have special outfits.
My nephew had a birthday party last weekend, and the cake design was like, I thought it was General Grievous from Star Wars, and it's actually like a Fortnite character.
Oh, you just dated yourself there.
Sorry, an Apex. Yeah. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, there's your generational difference.
Yeah, right there, General Grievous. Dude.
Anywho, PUBG was a Xbox exclusive for about a year, and then it went to the PlayStation 4. And starting with, I think it's season 4 or 6, whatever the next season is, that starts in September, Microsoft is, or actually, I guess it's PUBG is the name of the company, is going to enable cross-platform play between Xbox and PlayStation. So that's cool. And actually, honestly, for this game, it's probably a really good thing because most of the action in this area is happening in Fortnite and Apex Legends. And I suspect the user base of PUBG, which was once in the millions, is probably a lot smaller now. And so this should help with, matchmaking and so forth. That should be pretty good. And then I think we probably talked about this last week, but Microsoft last week announced they were canceling I think it's called the Super Duper graphics package or whatever it was for Minecraft. It was this thing that was going to elevate the graphics to the next level. Which I thought was a really cool idea. They got rid of it. But this week they announced they're adding ray tracing support to Minecraft on some platforms, which will significantly improve the graphics. It still has that kind of linear 8-bit-ish. I don't know how to say that style. But, of course, ray tracing makes it it's just beautiful. So you get, smoke going through the trees, and it looks really, really cool. So I'm not sure exactly when that's happening.
So this is instead of, because weren't they going to do a new big upgrade with better textures and stuff, which they killed?
Yeah.
So
that's what they killed.
So the ray tracing gives you some of the same effects, yes or no?
Yeah, it does. But only, so the problem was that the other, Minecraft is a cross-platform thing, obviously, right? So it's not including the Java versions of the game, which still exist. There are probably almost a dozen versions, or it's on several platforms.
Right. And
so that graphics package they were going to release would have been cross-platform. This one, I don't think it's going to be able to go to as many platforms. I'm not sure the exact plans because it's ray tracing, right? So ray tracing,
it's going to need the new Radeon or NVIDIA.
Yeah, it's going to the NVIDIA whatever it is,
20X or whatever it is.
Yeah, so it's probably going to be PC specific at first. I suspect the next gen consoles will be able to do this. I think ray tracing is on the board for both of those, Xbox and PlayStation.
But say that, yeah,
it's not going to be you're not going to see this on a Switch or whatever.
Okay. So this is good though. I mean, I was looking forward to it. We use plugins to give better texture maps and stuff to Minecraft. It makes it look a lot better.
I bet for a lot of people, the old-fashioned look and feel of Minecraft is maybe part of the appeal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bet it's part of it.
No, I think you're right. Okay, let's. We don't have an ad break here, so we can just move right on to your tips and picks, Paul.
Oh, good. I can keep listening to the sound of my voice.
We love that, Paul. We love it.
We talked earlier about Edge and how only 1 million people have downloaded this product. And so I'm going to ask everyone listening to this podcast to please help make that at least 2 million, because the new Edge is actually really, really good. And for all the reasons I've already stated. I do believe that there are a lot of people out there who, want to use Chrome, but maybe don't trust Google to some capacity. I don't believe there's any downside to using Edge compared to Chrome, and there's tons of upside. Plus, you can just test it, just use it side by side. Give it a shot, especially now that it's available in beta. If you don't want to download a new version of it every week or every night, whatever, the beta version is like the stable version. It's only going to be updated every 6 weeks. And of course, it benefits from all of the updates that were tested in the other channels previous to that. So this is definitely a good time to jump in if you haven't already. So please consider doing that. It is a really, really good browser. And then as far as the app pick goes, Grammarly this week updated their mobile keyboard with Cinnamon. God, it's been a long week. It's only Wednesday. A synonym suggestion bar, right? And so, if you on a mobile keyboard, there's that bar that often has typing suggestions, like spelling suggestions. They're adding synonym suggestions to that as well, right? The idea is that as you're typing, maybe you don't want to use the same words over and over again, or you want to use maybe a more intelligent word, whatever it might be. You can enable that now on Android and iOS, and that's cool. And semi-related to this, a lot of people probably use Grammarly to accommodate this in a web browser generally, but if you use Gmail, Gmail this week picked up spelling and grammar checking for the first time, which I'm kind of confused that wasn't part of it from the get-go, but that's one of the key benefits of using the Grammarly plugin for your browser, which you should also use, by the way, because Mary Jo knows I'm kind of a, big finger, slam the keys kind of typist. I make a lot of mistakes, and having something like that is key. So there's nothing to do with Gmail. You're just going to get it. But if you use Gmail on the web, you should see that soon if you haven't already.
Good. Now, Mary Jo and her enterprise picks of the week.
Enjoy your cinnamon.
Delicious cinnamon.
The first pick is kind of one of those, this caught me by surprise type items. I was browsing the Microsoft IT Showcase, as I am wont to do, and found a case study about Windows Update and kind of how Windows Update works under the covers. So surprisingly to me anyway, what it uses to help publish updates to all the different versions of Windows, not just 10, but 7, 8, 8.1, is Dynamics 365 for customer service. Okay, when I think of Dynamics 365 for customer service, I think of, companies who are using it as a CRM product, reaching out to your customers as a salesperson. But what Microsoft did was they took Dynamics 365 for customer service and they really customized it internally and turned it into something that helps them actually manage the Windows Update process. So I wrote about this on my site, and I linked to the case study, and I show you a diagram of how this works with the data model that they built and the RESTful APIs and the microservices. But the reason I made it the enterprise pick is I was thinking, if you're a company thinking about how to do something that's kind of like automating your business flow, not using flow necessarily, but just the whole idea of automating a process, sometimes you can use tools that already exist, like Dynamics 365 for customer service, if you are willing to do some customization to it. Nice. It's just like one of those weird things. When I saw it, I was like, wait, they're using Dynamics 365 for Windows Update?
That's very weird.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good. And so number two?
Okay, number two, I was telling Paul this today. I don't usually help people with technical problems. That's not my role. That's more you guys.
Emotional problems.
Mostly emotional problems,
and that's
right?
Through her work with Paul over these years.
Yeah, mostly for me. Yeah. That's true.
No, but this week, someone contacted me on Twitter and said, I am stuck on Windows 10 1803, and I'm afraid because I have a brand new, very recent, model of an HP Spectre. And if I can't get off 1803 and support ends in November, what am I going to do?
Very legitimate
I'm being
question.
blocked.
Yeah.
Right. And so I said, have you gone and looked at the Windows 10 release dashboard, which if you don't know what that is, it's on docs.microsoft.com. It's the thing called Windows Release Information. And if you click on that, you can go in and look at the different variants of Windows 10 feature updates and see issues that they've fixed and issues that they're working to fix. And you could just see, like, this might be why I'm being blocked. So he saw this and he said, oh, it's my display drivers. I'm not running the most recent one.
Nice.
And so he went to HP and said, I can get a more recent version of this, right? And they said, yeah, you should be running a more recent version. He downloaded it and he got unblocked from 1903
Yay.
immediately.
Oh, you are a champion.
Guys, I'm opening a new show, Ask the Tech Lady, right here.
Right.
I think you
Finally,
should.
there'll be a place for technical information about Windows.
We should
Exactly.
mention, Steve Gibson was talking about it yesterday. There's a bug in Symantec and Norton products that blocks Windows Update as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So
We noticed your computer's rebooting a lot, and
Yeah.
we've isolated the problem.
Yes, it's
to
Windows
this
Update.
one application called Windows Update.
Can you believe that? So
Yeah. But
unbelievable.
anyway, my tip was
Good tip.
go
Check
check
this
this release information dashboard before you give up hope that you are going to have to go buy a new PC.
The tech guy's adding that to his repertoire right now.
Good.
Very good tip. Now, I gather something happened last week.
Something, yes. As we say in the Windows world. Yes,
Something happened. And was it Micah and beer? Was that the issue?
No, it
No.
was
He's a gluten-free
we had brought
guy.
up patch.
Oh,
we brought up
we didn't know
Patch
that.
Tuesday.
Yes, and he didn't
And
know
he
what
said,
that was.
He didn't know what Patch Tuesday was.
Yeah.
And we were like, really? So we had to, and then we kind of talked through that. And then he said, it sounds like the name of a cocktail.
And I said, yes, if you're an IT pro, you are going to need a Patch Tuesday after the repatch.
So Stephanie Thurrott has invented one.
Well, we resolved that we would come up with a cocktail.
I love it.
And we would call it Patch Tuesday. And so I talked to my wife about this. And for whatever reason, over the past year, she's become something of a mixologist. She's been making cocktails and experimenting with cocktails and everything. And she came up with the Patch Tuesday.
It's our drink of the week, and it actually sounds quite yummy.
It does.
It's excellent.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
3
it's halfway
ounces.
between a whiskey sour and an old fashioned.
Yeah, it reminds me of an old fashioned a little bit. But
it's based on that.
Yeah. Go ahead. You tell us the recipe, Paul.
Well, so she wrote this, right? So this is my wife's thing, but it's 3 ounces of whiskey, half an ounce of lemon juice, 2 dashes of bitters, because Patch Tuesday is a little bit sour and a little bit bitter, and then half an ounce of honey to add a little hope.
Oh, nice.
Half of an egg white, right? If you make a proper, I guess it's a whiskey sour.
That's a
that
whiskey
has the egg
sour.
white in it.
Yeah.
Proper whiskey sour will have the egg white, but you shake everything together over ice, serve over ice. By the way, this large whiskey cube thing, get these things on Amazon. The cube trays for these, they're like $2 a piece. If you're into cocktails, you need this, like the whiskey cubes.
I have
Excellent.
a whiskey ball.
No, cubes are better.
Cubes are better because this is round.
Yeah, because
it doesn't dissolve as
No, it's
fast.
because they're easier to make. Because when you make the round ones, you got to work at it. Like
I have a
it's
special
just a bigger
ball maker.
It's just a bigger tray.
Do you
So
make
anyway.
the whiskey cube with whiskey
No,
or water?
No, would not complete.
That's what I was
alcoholics.
thinking. I was thinking you made it with
What
whiskey.
makes it a whiskey cube? Just the size.
Just the size, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, she might mean whiskey. Like it made. We have not done that. So I will say we don't do that. But yeah,
The
you could
ball.
make it out
I've
of
used the
whiskey.
ball with whiskey. I mean, it's the size of a snowball. It's large. You have a
Oh, wow.
special maker to make it.
So the problem with either approach is you're going to change the taste of the drink over
a
time.
little
So
water is good
obviously-
in whiskey, but not a lot.
Right.
Yeah, but this is a cocktail, right? And
Yeah,
so
that's a
honestly,
little Yeah.
maybe I just drink it fast enough. I don't really have a problem here, but
I would drink this. This sounds really good,
It sounds
especially
good,
the half
right?
ounce of honey.
the cherry thing. We know these people locally that make alcohol of all kinds. They make everything from the craziest internal destroying, just hard alcohol to vodkas and rums and whatever, gins and everything. But we use their moonshine to make maraschino cherries that are, infused now with this stuff.
Oh, so when you say
one of those
hard, you mean it's alcoholic.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. And as my wife says, this serves two because no one should drink alone on Patch Tuesday.
I love it. I'll make sure we get some for Micah. That's great.
It is a good drink.
That sounds fabulous. You're right. It's a little kind of between an old-fashioned and a whiskey sour. It sounds great.
Yep.
Marvy.
Yeah, because my wife wasn't sure what Patch Tuesday was either. So as I explained it to her, and the impact that it has on people who administer large systems,
yes,
she said, "Okay,
yes,
I see what we're looking for."
Not a happy holiday. No. Paul Thurrott is at thurrott.com. Will you publish a blog post with this recipe?
Yeah, this will be in the show notes. Yep.
Okay.
That'll go online. Yeah, that'll go on the web.
Yeah. THURROTT.com. His books are at leanpub.com. And the Windows 10 Field Guide is now up to date. So this would be a good time to get your 1903 version. And, of course, you continue to update it for people who purchased it in the past, right?
Oh, yeah. Everyone gets it. Everyone gets all the updates. Yep.
1903 is out at leanpub.com. Mary Jo Foley writes about Microsoft for ZDNet. Allaboutmicrosoft.com is the short and sweet of it. And together we do Windows Weekly every Wednesday about 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1700 UTC. If you want to watch live or listen live, you can. A couple of ways to do that. Of course, the website has a variety of live streams. That's at twit.tv/live. But you can also use your Amazon Echo or your Smart Assistant, your Google Assistant, anything like that. Just, depending, the syntax varies a little bit, but something like Echo, play Twit Live, and if you do that at 11 a.m. on Wednesday, you'll be able to hear the show as we do it. I know a lot of people like to listen along, and if you're doing that, you might want to join us in the chat room, irc.twit.tv. Everybody's listening and chatting simultaneously. On demand, audio and video available because it's a podcast. You get that at the... God, that hurts to say.
I know, it's weird.
You get it at twit.tv/WW or subscribe in your favorite podcast app. iTunes, Google's podcasts, Pocket Cast. We're everywhere. If you subscribe, you'll get it the minute it's available.
Do you have like a little sign in front of you that says, "It's a podcast"?
No.
Just to kind of remind you.
I probably should. I never said, the truth is, I never really used the word netcast. That didn't roll off the tongue. I always said podcast. But all of our... collateral material says
the whole
netcast
you love from people you trust thing, and
that's I think already been changed as of this episode. I think it'll say podcasts you love.
Wow.
It turned out here's the thing.
You know how I feel about change, Leo.
I know. I thought we were going to have to record a whole new one, but it turns out briefly in 2006 that's what it said.
Oh, funny. So you're actually using the old one.
We just went back to it. Yeah.
That's amazing.
We do have to rejigger the video, so it may not be yet because poor Anthony has to figure out a way because the video actually says netcast, so we have to figure that out.
Right.
Netcast detox. That's what Xtune calls it in our chat room. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Mary Jo. And thanks to all of you for joining us. We'll see you next time on Windows Weekly.